Eckstein, and today we're going to talk about retroactive CPACE funding. And if you're not familiar with CPACE, it's Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy. It's basically approved funding for green eligible items that lower the carbon footprint for properties. It basically promotes green energy in construction. And so there's been about 25 states that have approved this, and we finance these eligible items within the construction budget of hotels and multifamily and industrial and office buildings and adaptive reuse projects. And there's a program called Retroactive, which means even after certificate of occupancy, there is a potential look back of up to 3 years. Not in every state, but some states allow for a retroactive look back where they can actually, the developers can get that funding back. They can get those proceeds. Let's say it's 20% of the construction budget. Usually 15 to 25% of a construction budget are eligible depending on the state and jurisdiction. And so a developer might have just gotten certificate of occupancy and maybe there's a shortfall of cash. Well, they can actually use retroactive financing for that. They can also use, it wouldn't be retroactive, but they could also do construction completion financing. So even if you're halfway done with a project, potentially you can get CPACE funding for that particular deal. Now you got to remember, in all these instances, you always need senior lender consent, meaning that bank, credit union, or debt fund that made that loan in senior position has to allow for CPACE financing. So there is a bit of a process to it, but we can explain that in a further video.
Are you in the market for a commercial loan? Did you find the perfect opportunity but need funding? Have a special situation? At Find the Bank, you will get quotes with competitive rates and terms from multiple lenders without any hassles. Have a multifamily property, construction project, owner-user property, industrial, mixed use, hotel? At Find the Bank, you can get nearly any kind of commercial financing. The process is simple. Once you send us some information about you and your property, we send back a quote sheet. Then we quickly connect you with an advisor. You won't spend hours calling multiple banks trying to find the right person to talk to. We'll connect you fast to the right person, hassle-free. Better terms than you could get on your own. Go to findthebank.com and complete the form. An advisor will be connected with you within minutes to discuss your specific financing needs.
Going back to that, right now, as far as the retroactive program, there's about 24 states that allow for these look-backs. And these are great to potentially pay off an equity investor or an LP investor in the deal to get additional capital to infuse into the working capital if it's an assisted living facility or a hotel for furniture, fixtures, and so forth. Construction completion, as I said, that's not really a retroactive deal, but you're seeing more PACE funding coming into play for stalled out projects. I looked at a project actually, and the senior lender never funded because they ran into issues during COVID. So these developers are halfway complete with a hotel, and it's just basically framed up at the time. So these type of projects are happening right now, especially with COVID, and that's where our funding, our CPACE funding, is really coming into play for these type of projects. If it's an approved state, right? There's 25 or so states that are approved right now, and a couple dozen that allow for this retroactive funding. The good thing is, though, is if you don't have certificate of occupancy, oftentimes you don't need to do it as a retroactive because you don't have the certificate of occupancy yet. So there's different caveats for different states and so forth. But I just want to touch on what's available to bring in more capital into the project, to finish projects, to pay out, equity investors in the deal if you need to get a partner out or so forth. There's lots of options. So I strongly recommend, if you're in an approved area, you should definitely look at CPACE funding. Not only is it lower cost of capital, you're also doing better for your property. You're leaving a zero carbon footprint or less energy waste. Property is going to be healthier, meaning more energy efficient, saving you money there. And at the end of the day, your building is probably worth a lot more money being more energy efficient, right? More value. So hope you enjoyed this video. Plan on doing more on PACE and the advantages of it. Join us on the next episode of the Investor Financing Podcast. Please like and share. Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.